the most important things, especially in our industry, in the music industry, in the creative industry, is relationships with people. It's not the equipment. It's not how talented you are. It's the relationships with people that you can sustain, and those relationships will sustain you going forward.
1, 2, yeah. Come on. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, sir, you are tuned in. This is for the SB1200, ASR 10s and NBC heroes. This is for the crate digging, loop getting, sound manipulators, the Fruity Loop reasoning machine innovators that pump the bass and frequently freak the kick in a stand till it slaps in your speakers. The sound providers that make sure the song is tight. Shout out to the producers, beats grinding live. Shout out to the producers, beats grinding live.
Welcome to the Beats Grinding Life podcast with your host Siren, a weekly interview podcast with inspiring music producers, where every week you will learn from a different music producer how to potentially take your music career to the next level.
What's up, Beat Grinders? This is another episode of Beats Grinding Life. I'm your host Siren, and I'm grateful to have you all tuning in with us, because this week we have with us Lectriq. Lectriq is a music producer, engineer, remixer, multi-instrumentalist from the Philadelphia area. He has made a name for himself collaborating with other EDM and house musicians and joining the award-winning group Matrax. Since that time, he has gone solo and has worked with pop artists like Chase J, Trini Savah, and past Beats Grinding Life guest, the Symphony. Yo, what's up, Lectriq? How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's up, Siren? Good to be here. Honored to be chatting to you, and just hopefully this goes well. That's all.
Yeah, man. Well, besides messing up your name in the beginning, I called you Lectrax. It will go well. I hope so, Lectriq. But yeah, man, thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate it, man. If you want to expand on that intro that I read and let the listeners know a little bit more about you, man, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm based in Philadelphia. Work with a lot of people in the city and obviously outside the city. Collab a lot. I do. My main focus right now is pop genre.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of tracks and artists and whatnot, but I also do touch on some urban areas music, and as well as dance music as well. How underground house music, EDM, things like that.
Okay.
So and I'm originally, actually, I'm not from Philly. I'm from Ukraine originally.
Oh, nice, man. You're the second producer we've had from the Ukraine.
Oh, really? No way. Who else? I don't know.
I'm a producer by the name of Nocturne. He works with Ilman.
And he's from Ukraine. Oh, really?
Yeah, he's still living there, as a matter of fact. All right, man. Well, here at Beats Grinding Life, man, we always start off from the beginning, man. You said that you're from the Ukraine, so we got to know a little bit about your background, man. But we want to know about music production. How did it all start out for you? What were the beginnings for you with music?
Well, so I don't know if it's a typical story or not, but I was always into music. I started playing piano when I was like 5, picked up a guitar when I was 10. Also was always into listening to music. I had like one of my first favorite records when I was like 3. Obviously I don't remember it. My parents made that I had like a favorite vinyl that I would pick out of a stack and ask. So I was always into that. I was always into the technology aspect of it as well, like tape recorders and speakers and things like that. I was into car audio at one point heavily, so always into audio, music, things like that. And then of course I went to school, as in like college. I went to college for audio, sound engineering.
Nice.
So I studied to be, basically I have a degree as a sound engineer. And my first industry, job was I was engineering in the studio. I did the internship and and then started working as well. So did the whole thing, the usual, so to speak. So and then basically from engineering, it's only like one short step over into producing. So that's what happened. I was always up. I recorded music, mixed music, other people's music, and it was great and it was fun. And then eventually, it started to not be enough in terms of a creative output. So I wanted to make my own. And then I started venture into that. Started making some tracks, showed it to some people, collabed with some songwriters, and then eventually got signed to a production company, Matrax, and the rest is history. Been producing ever since. Obviously, engineering as well, because that all goes hand in hand. So that's that never stopped. But production has been my main focus past few years for sure.
That's awesome, man. I don't really hear that story too often of engineers turning into produce. I mean, did you do music coming? Apparently you did do music coming up, but it doesn't sound like production was your main focus. It was mainly engineering, and then you moved over into production. I don't hear that story a lot.
Yeah, it's been engineering. Yeah, the focus was engineering, and then my musical sort of ideas or whatever you want to call it would always spill over into the recording sessions. Like working with the artists, coming up with harmonies. Actually, while I was in college, I was required to be in a choir as part of the curriculum. So, which, as I later found out, which helped me tremendously when working with vocalists and harmonies and things like that. That the choir thing really helped out. So
that's awesome.
So that's my transition.
That's awesome, and I'm sure that being an engineer first, I mean, it like you said, it spills over into music production, but I'm sure that helps you as a producer as well, right?
Absolutely. Oh, the whole the sound quality and attention to that aspect of it is definitely there. And sometimes it's almost like I'm trying to turn it off sometimes, and like the whole engineering side, like part of my brain. But but it helps. It helps because I approach when I work on a piece of music, I basically the mixing process starts with the production process for me, with the picking of the sounds and making sure sounds fit together even before any EQs or compressors are opened up. You know what I mean? And I don't think I'm the only one. This is like such a novel idea, but because of the engineering background, for me, that kind of comes naturally. So
awesome,
that's
man. Awesome. Okay, where'd you go to college? Did you go here in the States or in the Ukraine?
I was here. I went to Community College of Philadelphia, got my degree there, and then I transferred all my credits over to, it's called the Lebanon Valley College, and it's a small liberal arts school here in basically central PA by Lancaster, PA. Okay. And they had a 4-year program, and that's what I wanted to sort of accomplish, and that's what I did. And actually, my last semester, I went to Cambridge, study abroad program, and studied same thing, engineering, and actually some production as well in Cambridge, which was awesome.
Wow, yeah, it sounds awesome, man. I mean, that's definitely something that you can put on your resume and it'll catch people's eyes for sure, man.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, all right, man. Well, you already told us what pieces of what instruments you started off with, but what was the first piece of equipment that you started actually producing music with?
Oh, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, for me, it started off digitally. So it was, if I can say a computer, it's obviously very vague and not necessarily answering your question, but it was, actually, I can tell you the piece of software that really got me into it. It was Spectrasonic Stylus RMX. I started off with that, the way they have their libraries laid out and the loops and samples and all of that. So that got me really interested into like, oh man, I can put tracks together and backbeat and put stuff on top of it. So that was like my main thing, my first sort of memorable piece of gear. I mean, technically, yeah, piece of gear. So yeah.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, coming up when you first started making tracks, who were some of the producers that inspired you?
So as I said, I come from Ukraine. So I only really got into obviously producing here in the States, and as I got into it, I obviously started doing some research and on credits and people behind my favorite music and whatnot. And as I realized, Max Martin's been my favorite producer ever since I can remember listening to music, but I never really knew him or who he was or what. I just know the music, and I only retrospectively figured that out. So I listened to music that him and his production team worked on back in Europe, beginning of the 90s and all that. So, and up until now, that's been sort of my influence, or a big part of my influence.
Awesome.
I should say.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, we've all heard Max Martin songs, but not very familiar with him, just because he doesn't put himself out in the limelight like that. Do you mind just telling us a couple songs that he may have did?
So there was a artist. You mean like a couple songs that he might have done that but people don't know? Right.
I mean, like
in general.
Yeah, just in general. I mean, he's done some pretty big songs. If you can just tell us maybe some of your favorites or some big songs that people may not have known, but that they've heard.
So he's been, obviously, as of late, he's done a bunch of stuff with Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. I mean, he's done a whole bunch. It's so hard to count and stuff. So, and then I like dance music, and I've sort of grew up on dance music, and a lot of Euro dance sort of music of the 90s were done by like Max Martin and the team back then. I mean, he was kind of starting out back then. I don't want to get into his like story and all that, but I'm just saying. But I didn't know it was him, and like Dennis Pop was his mentor and another producer from Sweden. So they've done a lot of like music that I grew up when I was like 13, 14, grew up listening to, and then later on find out, oh my God, it's the same guy that's doing all these Britney Spears records and all this other like Taylor Swift and all other stuff. So he's done that. He did that record with Maroon 5, right? One More Time, I think it was called.
Wow.
So that one, and then of course Taylor Swift, and then that record which is Justin Timberlake from the cartoon, Can't Stop the Feeling. I mean,
wow. Oh, Trolls, yeah.
Exactly. So that was him. So
okay,
it was just a big influence on me for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, I've some other people on this show have mentioned Max Martin, and I've looked him up a little bit, but I need to go back and actually listen to the music and just hear everything that he's done. So, Beat Grinders, you guys probably need to do the same thing as well. So, all right, man. Well, thank you for that. All right, man, here on Beats Grinding Life, we're here to have a great time. I'm having a great time talking to you. I'm learning a lot. But here, it's not all about that. We got to take you through the hard times as well, man. So right now, I want you to tell me a major setback or failure that you've had coming up in this music business that we can possibly learn from, a failure that you were able to bounce back from.
It's kind of, it's not really a hard question, a tricky question. Actually, the period of time when I was sort of switching from being just an engineer in a studio, by just I mean not a producer, you know what I mean? I was engineering,
right?
And I was in the studio. It was a situation where I was very involved in, and I was sort of all in, putting sweat equity and all that stuff into the building up a studio and whatnot, and engineering as well. And then things started to not work out, and basically I had to leave the situation. And it was kind of hard because I wasn't really sure what I was gonna do and how and what people I'm gonna be involved with. I knew I need to be staying in the music industry because that's what I want to do, but it was kind of hard. And then so I was kind of on my own because I was that studio was kind of all I knew because I interned in that studio after college, and then for a few years I worked in that studio. And then being out of that was kind of hard to be like, okay, what do I do now?
Right.
Who do I talk to? What do I, and that was around the time where I started producing more, but I didn't really quite realize, okay, I guess producing is going to be what I'm going to be doing from now on. So anyway, I've had some relationships with some people, and I approached some, and then showed some of my music that I've been working on, and then I got basically signed as a producer/engineer to the production company Matrax, as you mentioned before.
That's awesome.
So that period was kind of, I don't want to say it was like a failure or a setback, but it was kind of a scary moment in my career, so to speak.
Right.
I was not, I was kind of okay. I was almost on the street, not really, but you know what I mean. Like I was like, okay, this situation is over. Now I need to figure out what's my next move, and that's kind of scary. So, but it worked out. It was a great situation when like Matrax. I started to learn a lot in terms of production. Brought my expertise in terms of engineering to the team. So it was just great overall. Great place to find myself in.
Yeah,
so
cool. Sounds like it, man. I mean, sounds like it was a blessing in disguise, you know, I mean.
Correct. Yep, that's the words I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, man, without those tough times, you probably wouldn't be where you are today, you know, so that's awesome, man. You know, I mean, I think the takeaway that we can learn from that is, you know, no matter what your situation is, don't approach it with fear, because you just never know where it can take you, you know, whether it be a bad situation or a good situation.
Correct. Yeah, that is absolutely right. Yep.
All right. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you for sharing that, man. I appreciate that, and I'm sure everyone else does listening. We can definitely learn a lot from that. But now we're going to take it to the other side, man. I want to know, what's the greatest moment in your career or the greatest achievement that you've had thus far?
This is almost more of a trickier question than like the opposite of that, because it's maybe it's just the point where I'm at in terms of career, what I'm doing and all that. It's kind of hard to pinpoint something that's like one instance that overshadows everything else, or it's hard to say. I mean, it's probably multiple things. I signed a small recording contract or production contract, so to speak, with like a label that could be considered something, but then other things happened, and I got last year I got invited to be on a Grammy committee.
Wow.
Like being involved with the Grammy like situation on my in my chapter and whatnot.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool, and people, you when peers respect you and like listen to your opinion and whatnot. That's that's awesome. But I can't say that these are like achievements, so to speak. I mean, they are in their own right, but hopefully there's calm and whatnot. But there is there's a few. I mean, also honestly, anytime I collaborate with somebody or somebody comes and writes a song to one of my tracks, I consider that as like an achievement. Like when somebody comes and spends their time and effort working with me, I consider that to be like, oh my God, somebody likes what I do and they want to work with me. Right. That's amazing. So, and that happens pretty often, and I consider all those sessions, all those relationships are like achievements. So to me, I mean, I suppose one day when I get a Grammy, I mean, yeah, that I could say, well, I got a Grammy, you know. But but even before that, way before that, and as things happen every day, all those are kind of like achievements. I mean, every day is like a great day. Like, okay, oh my God, yesterday I had a songwriter in the studio, wrote a hook and a verse to my track. I'm great, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that necessarily answers your question, but
no, it does, man. I mean, you know, the small victories, you know, when you add them up, are just as big as the big ones. You know, you got to embrace the small victories as well, man. So I always like to use the baseball analogy. You know, I don't know if you're into baseball or not, but you know, the base hits, you know, are valuable as well. You know, we can't hit home runs every day, but you know, if you can get a base hit, you know, hey, you're in business. You're working with something.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good analogy.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. Because I mean, a lot of us, you know, we're thinking, hey, we got to get the big placement, or we got to get the Grammy, or you know. But it's not always about that. It's the little things, you know, each and every day that we can do to build up to get to where we want to be. Thank you.
And you know what? I just wanted to add. I think it comes from sort of not. The best way I can put it is to keep your expectations low, but not from a negative standpoint. Just not to. Nobody owes you anything. Don't expect great things just because you think you're so great. You know what I mean? So it's like, so if you keep your expectations low and you just keep your head down and you just keep working, so any little thing is gonna be like an achievement, you know, and like you're gonna be pleasantly surprised every day. So that's what I'm trying to be. That's all.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, man. That's awesome. All right, man. Well, here on Beats Grinding Life, man, you know, we want to be a great producer. All of us listening, and so we consider you, Lectriq, to be a great producer. And so we want to know, man, what do you do on a typical day, so that way we can mold our day around what you do and try to be as great as you one day.
I mean, as you know, every day is sort of different. I mean, some days are similar, but in general, it's different depending on what I'm doing. Plus, it's, you know, what we do is a creative, you know, industry, obviously. So, but creativity is just such a elusive thing that sometimes either you don't have it, or it comes when you don't expect it, or whatever, you know.
Right.
So outside of creativity, there's obviously other things that need to get done, and you know, I take care of those things as well, being just an independent producer. I mean, I do a lot of research. Like if I get into the studio, I would start by opening up some of my favorite blogs and websites and see what's going on, what music came out, listen to some stuff, what tech stuff came out that's out there, or what people are talking about, you know, obviously plugins and sounds and things like that. Then of course, what I try to do is everything I work on, and I'm sure that's a lot of people can relate to that. You know, everything I work on is always in different stages of where things are. Like some stuff is I'm just producing, just making the track. Some stuff is I have to edit the vocals. Some records, they need to be, you know, mixed. Some need to be bounced out stems or something like that. And so I always try to, and some of these things are smaller than others in terms of time and effort that need to be put in. So a lot of times I try to take care of those outstanding miscellaneous things before I get into something bigger, like, okay, starting a new track, you know what I mean? So if I know that one of the artists is waiting for me to send them a TV mix, and somebody else is waiting for stems, I try to do that in the beginning of my day, figure that out, send it out, so that's not hanging over my head, and then get into some creative stuff or something else, you know? Yeah. So kind of that's sort of what I you know usually see my days running at. But you know, of course, like I said, days are different, but that's kind of you know, this is a business, so I try to make sure things are covered and things are taken care of, you know? That's
awesome, man. It sounds like your day is very prioritized. You go to the important things first and then work your way on down. You know, that's awesome.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, man. All right, well, this next portion of the interview we like to call In the Studio. We would all like to be there with you in Philadelphia making beats with you, man, but I don't know if you can hold all of us in your studio. So the next best thing is we get to ask you questions about what goes on in the studio. And this first question, I think you somewhat answered. It's what do you do before you start crafting beats? Do you have a set ritual? Is there something that you like to do? Do you like to get the lights right, incense? You said you like to get on the computer and look at your favorite blogs. Are there certain blogs that you like to look at that you don't mind sharing?
So I have one of my favorite blogs. It's actually more of a technical blog. Mm-hmm. It's not so much. Well, it's very music related for sure, but they're called Pro Tools Expert.
Nice.
They have a multiple sister websites like Logic Expert, Studio One Expert. So it's just everything related to that particular DAW. But however, they cover everything. So it's not just about the DAW. They cover plugins, musicians, and sessions. They cover everything. Still more of a technical versus like purely musical, you know. But I get a lot of info from them. Those guys are keeping their, this is not a plug, by the way. I'm not affiliated.
Right.
That's one of the things that I check out pretty regularly. I do, as far as musical stuff, I am on Spotify, so I do that. Listen to the release radar and like just look for new stuff that came out. I don't do enough of that actually. I need to do more, but that's what I usually go through, listen to some stuff, and then they're pretty good as far as giving me stuff that I would like and would follow, as well as some new unfamiliar stuff as well.
Right.
So, and I go to YouTube as well, and I like to, a lot of times I get inspired by other people's music for sure. Actually, one of the things early on when I got signed to Matrax production company, one of the things that the up and coming producers that were in the company were asked was, what's the record that's out there now that you wish you have produced? And I thought that was a really fun question, and it was cool because there's so many records that I really connect with and be like, oh, I wish I would have done it because it's so awesome, you know?
Right.
So I look for that visceral response from records that are out. Doesn't matter the genre, doesn't matter the artist that don't care about, doesn't matter. So I just look for that inspiration like that, and then go in and then just try to do something that's could be inspiring for others, or just in general, just make something cool, dope, hot, whatever,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. You're not just jumping right into it as soon as you get into the studio. It sounds like you're kind of leaning your way into music by getting yourself inspired and looking at other things. That's a great way, to get into it. For me, it kind of varies. Sometimes I'll just hop in here and hop right on the beat machine, and then sometimes I'll just sit back and listen to music, and it seems like when you ease your way into it, you have more of an easier time. You're not forcing anything. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, well, listen, sometimes I would do the thing where, you just open up a blank session and you open up some synth and you go through some sounds and whatnot. I do that as well. I get inspired that way too. Like, I like having all that power at my fingertips and be like, oh, I can open this up and then or even like samples or loops or whatever, like whatever musical ideas, or start just playing something, So that's I do that as well. That's, like I said, some days days are different. So sometimes it's one way, sometimes it's the other way. It doesn't, But I do it different ways. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. Okay. All right. Well, what's a not so secret weapon that you have in the studio?
Honestly, it's my acoustic guitar.
Nice.
Now that I think about it, it's really the guitar. It helps. It's like my old friend that I've known for so long, and it helps me make records, period. Sometimes even when I don't, sometimes when I would work on something and I don't pick up the guitar, I still my thought process is still the guitar thought process in terms of chord progressions and harmonies and things like that, and just general song flow, so to speak.
Nice.
So guitar is, and a lot of times, of course, I would pick up the guitar, figure out chords, or even figure out chords to a song. Like I would like some kind of a turnaround in some song that's out there. So to pick up my guitar and figure that out and kind of work from there. So guitar, I would say, is my I would say almost weapon of choice when it comes to tools to help me produce. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Okay. All right, so what's all in your toolbox besides your guitar? What do you currently have in your studio that you're using to make beats?
So I have been producing for a while, but I still do consider myself call myself a digital child. I have never used an MPC to produce. I'm basically all in the box.
Okay.
For better or for worse, for I know it's a debatable point, and then the people have all kinds of opinions and all that, and there is no right or wrong. But for me, I was always in the box. I started in the box. Everything's been in the box. The sound, and I can make the sounds are right. The further we are into the future, the better the sounds are, and everything is just so. But everything is basically, it's all about plugins for me. I did switch DAWs recently. I was in Pro Tools for a long time, even doing all the MIDI and everything, and then I finally switched to Logic, and like 3 years ago, and I'm all Logic. Obviously, it doesn't. This is a debatable point, as I'm sure you're aware, but this ultimately doesn't really matter. It's a shell and then you just fill in the blanks inside of it to make a record. So it doesn't really matter. Well, Logic just works for me. It's for me. I come from an engineering standpoint, so I like to organize things and I like to color code and do all of that.
Right.
Logic with the folders and track stacks and all that. It's just organizational paradise, as I call it. I love it. So I'm not one of those crazy scientists where things are chaotic and things are all over the place. For me, I need things to be organized and like I said, color coded and categorized and all that. So Logic helps me do that, and it's just there. That's as far as DAW, and as far as plugins and tools. I mean, there's so much out there nowadays that it's just crazy. I mean, obviously I love Atmosphere. I think it's just like a treasure chest of all kinds of stuff, and it covers so much ground. Yep. But then there's other things like newer, like Serum and I don't even know what's the new Silent. I mean, so all of like as far as like synths, so I use that. I use Machine Library, but inside Battery. If that makes sense. Because I'm all in the box. I don't use hardware outside of hardware.
You don't use the actual machine hardware.
Correct. I have obviously a MIDI keyboard and whatnot, but I don't use the machine hardware. I do use Machine Library for drums.
Okay.
It's amazing. Even at stacking drums and everything. So that's been amazing. And the way they have things categorized in different expansion packs where they are geared towards different genres and whatnot. I just love that, going through that, finding sounds. That's amazing.
Right.
It's been
okay. Well, all in the box. That's pretty awesome. And so the only your instruments, of course, you have your guitar, and like you said, you have your MIDI keyboard. What kind of MIDI keyboard do you have?
So I actually do have a pretty nice one, in my opinion. I have the Akai Advance.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I have the smaller one. It's the one that you can, it analyzes your plugin library. You can control your VSTs from it.
That's nice.
All the knobs get mapped to the parameters and whatnot. It's pretty. It's like complete. It's competing with Native Instruments Complete, basically. Right. Complete.
Okay.
So it's. That's basically what I have. It even has some pads and whatnot. But yeah, that's basically and the other piece of outboard gear that I have is the Apollo Twin, my sound interface.
Nice. Okay.
it.
All right, man. Well, since you said that you made the switch over from Pro Tools to Logic, this may be a dumb question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So, did you switch blogs from Pro Tools, from the Pro Tools expert to the Logic expert?
No, it's funny, but I actually follow both. So
Okay.
I'm just up both, and they give me a lot of info that's useful, you know, and. And I sometimes I even visit like there's a Reason Expert website, and there is a Studio One, and there's Ableton.
Awesome.
So I visit all of them because all of them I can relate to a lot of info that all of them provide.
Right,
you know? So,
right.
so
That's awesome, man. I've never heard of that blog, and I'm gonna go check it out. So and see what I can gain from them. Because I made the switch over to Logic as well. I was always Pro Tools for years and years, and
so you did the same thing. Awesome.
Yep, did the same thing, man. And so any kind of tips and advice I can get and help I can get on Logic would definitely be appreciated. So I'm gonna go over there and check it out today. So thank you for that, man.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Since you did the Pro Tools, I don't want to get too far into the technical thing, but one of my favorite features in Pro Tools was the Super Tool. You know, when you have the three tools up top connected. So Logic has that same thing, and a lot of people don't really realize that. But once I figured that out, that Logic can do the same thing, where with Super Tool, the game was over. I switched over.
Yeah, that sounds like a game changer.
Absolutely.
Okay, man. All right, man. Well, this next portion of the interview I like to call In the Mix. We're gonna speed things up just a little bit.
Sure.
But I'm gonna ask you questions. You just give me a quick answer back. But if you need to take your time to give us a thorough answer, please do. So, you ready?
Yep.
All right, man. Do you prefer making beats with samples or without samples?
No samples in the classic way, meaning no sampled records.
Right.
I like to use sample libraries, like loops and chord progressions and things, but not like records. It's not part of my repertoire, so to speak.
Awesome. Are you on Splice?
I am. I was going to mention that. That's another thing I started using recently because it's a game changer. That's a game changer right there.
Yes,
I am.
Yes, it is. Okay, what's your opinion on selling and leasing beats online?
Are we talking just generally selling, or are we attaching some sort of pricing to it as well, or just in general?
I think just in general. I mean, just whatever you see as far as leasing and selling music online. Now, I know you're more into EDM. I'm not sure if a lot of EDM artists are selling their music to artists online like it is with hip hop.
I think so. It's a free market, right? Especially here in the States, free market.
Yep.
Music industry is a microcosm of that situation, so it's a free market. Whatever works, as long as it's legal. If you feel like you, but obviously you or who, like anybody, just in general, right? So if you feel like you can sell, or it makes sense for you to sell stuff online, your work online, and you don't feel like you are being sort of cheated out of potential greater money or something like that, I there's nothing wrong with it. Whatever works. We all need to pay our bills and whatnot, and of course in music industry sometimes it's hard to get constant flow of resources coming through. So I don't really have a problem. I never really sold my stuff online like that. I think it's all good. Especially a lot of guys are really fast and really good with their stuff, so they can make a lot of beats and then just sell them. Doesn't have to be expensive. That's fine. I don't see a problem with that.
Dope. Okay, I like that answer. What's a plugin that you think every producer should have in their arsenal?
For production, Omnisphere.
Nice.
For outside of sound plugins, Waves PAZ Analyzer.
Nice. Okay.
I can elaborate on that if you want.
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, for people that don't know what an analyzer is, or specifically what Waves analyzer is, go ahead.
So a long time ago, I used that PAZ. I call it PAZ, but PAZ. I don't know. I don't even know what it stands for, but it doesn't matter. So I use that plugin to basically analyze some of my favorite sounding records and see what the frequency response curve looks like for those records. Sound amazing. So, and then ever since I figured that out, what the general curve needs to look like, right? So I've been using that plugin to help my ears when I'm working on my own stuff.
Nice.
So when I mix, or even just when I just make a record and I need to create a rough mix of something I'm working on currently, I would open up the analyzer and make sure that what I'm hearing is correct and where things are where they need to be. So it's invaluable. And it gives you basically it's not very detailed, the answer. So it gives you a bird's eye view of like a 40,000 foot view of your record and its frequency curve.
That's awesome.
And you can really help yourself make it sound great. Even just by leveling, you don't even need to, it's not really about EQing or compressing or anything like that, but you can just level, just with the faders, you can make it even things out and make it sound nice, and then check yourself with that analyzer.
That's dope, man. That's awesome, man. Using it as a reference for your record. That's awesome. Okay. All right, man. Well, thank you for those suggestions, man. Appreciate that, and thank you for the tips on the analyzers. I'm sure a lot of people will put that into use and use it on their own records, man. So thank you.
No problemo. Yep.
Okay, man. Well, do you have a book that you think every producer should read? And it doesn't have to be music related. It could be about life. It could be a comedy. It can be about anything.
Honestly, I don't read enough.
Okay.
that's not an answer. I do have a couple of music related books. I don't know if any of you guys read there's a book by Russell Simmons called Do You.
I haven't.
That's a great book. It's like a guideline to operate in the music industry or entertainment industry, sort of period. Again, overarching view of how you should behave and how you should do certain things and not do and approach things in certain ways. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's helped me a lot. And recently I read this book. Of course, I'm bad with names, so I forgot the author. But it's called Song Machine. It's basically about Song Machine. Yeah, it's about again, coming back to Max Martin and the history of his all like the stuff that he's done and the artists and production companies and things like that. It's cool. And songwriters, and it's like gives a lot of background information to a lot of people and a lot of people who are currently in the industry, so which is pretty awesome.
Someone else mentioned that book on here. I can't remember who, but yeah, that sounds super familiar. Especially when you said when you mentioned Max Martin's name, Song Machine. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for those suggestions, man. I'll definitely have to check out both of those. Both of them sound very interesting, and it seems like I can get a lot of value from those. So thank you, man.
Yeah, check those out. Yeah, totally.
Okay. All right, and Beat Grinders, if you guys haven't heard, if you guys haven't read either of those books and you want to know where to get them, I'll definitely provide a link for you on the website under Lectriq's show notes. So, okay. All right, man. Well, is there an internet resource that you think that that we can all, and when I say we, I mean producers, that we can all benefit from? And when I say that, I mean a mobile app or a website. I know that you already mentioned a couple websites, but if you think that there's another one that we can benefit from, that'd be great. Or an app.
Well, I use, as far as the app, it's hard to say. I mean, yes, Splice has been my recent discovery for sure. Mm-hmm. Even though I have used Splice, I've been a user of Splice for a while.
Okay.
For the syncing and saving sessions on their server, because they provide unlimited storage space for your sessions. So I've been using that, but of course, and then I just recently started getting into the sounds on there, and it's been amazing. So that's been great. I mean, the blog, the Pro Tools Expert blog, and all their sister websites, that's pretty awesome. As far as apps, I mean, I don't really have like an iPad or anything like that, so I don't really do a lot of music mobily. And I know the question is not limited to that, but
right.
I have, I use a quick little piano app that I like to figure out keys of songs. So I, without even opening a plugin, I just open up the app real quick and just, if I need to set up auto-tune a certain way, I just figure out and people always ask me, hey, what was that app you just used? How did you find out the key? I'm like, this is the piano without really wheeling in the grand piano to the studio. I'm just open it up and play the chord, and it's just easy to figure that out.
That's dope.
So,
okay.
just something simple like that, really,
Right. Okay. All right, that's what's up, man. All right, well, man, I don't know if you know or not, but they're going to tear the faces down on Mount Rushmore. We're done with the president's faces. We just feel like producers are a little more important, man. So we're going to put producers up on Mount Rushmore. But it's your job to figure out what 4 producers are going up there. Who do you got going up on Mount Rushmore?
Oh, man, it's so hard. Oh, it's so hard. Well, I think one of my favorites, and I'll explain why, is Mutt Lange.
Mike Lane?
I would want to say Mutt Lange. Yeah, L-A-N-G. Yeah, Mutt Lange. I just love the versatility of this guy and how many different genres and records and artists that he's produced, and I love that. So yeah, he produced, Def Leppard on one side and Shania Twain on the other side. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's like,
right.
And he can just do whatever. So I'm kind of, I jump genres as well, so it's very relatable to me. That's why I can sort of, it resonates with me. It's like, okay, you don't need to be tied to a single genre. I'm actually working on a hard rock project right now.
Wow.
as well as 80s pop project as well. So it's
right.
So to me that's really cool. Obviously, Max Martin would be somewhere there. I know we've mentioned him already a couple times. One of my favorites is also Ryan Tedder.
Okay.
I just love the records he's written, he's produced, and what he does, and with his band and all of that is just amazing. What
has he done?
So he's done some of the biggest pop records of all time. Do you remember Bleeding Love?
Bleeding Love by who?
I keep forgetting her name. Another record he's done was Halo.
Okay. Wow.
He wrote Halo.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty incredible. He's also done what's that? Obviously, Too Late to Apologize. That was their like big breakout record.
Wow.
that he's done. Yeah. Okay. I think Tim produced that. Yeah. So he's. Let me see. What's the? Leona Lewis, Bleeding Love. That was the record.
Okay. Oh yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I think that was her first big record. I'm pretty sure. So that's he co-wrote it with Jesse McCartney. Yeah.
Wow.
So I love what he's doing, and even the stuff that he's done with his band, like Counting Stars and a couple earlier records with his band. Yeah, I just love what he does.
Okay.
obviously Timberland would be somewhere up there with the potentially going up on Mount Rushmore for sure. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me. I mean, yeah, he's so influential and he's done so many cool things. It's just crazy.
Wow, man.
So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh,
but,
yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
That's a great answer, man. You know, and what I like about it is that it you know, I'm gonna have to do my research on a few of these guys, or on a couple of these guys. On Mott Lane for sure. I'm not too familiar with him, but I'm gonna get familiar. And also with Ryan Tedder. You know, I don't know much about him. The songs that you mentioned, I know of. But I'm gonna find out his full discography and see what else he's done. But
yeah,
I mean,
totally.
From what you told me, man, that sounds like a great Mount Rushmore. All those guys have hits on top of hits on top of hits, and probably Grammys on top of Grammys, and seems like it can't get any better than that, man, for a Mount Rushmore. So that's awesome, man. Well, thank you.
Totally.
Okay, man. All right, man. Well, I want to know, man. I want you to imagine that you just woke up from a dream. And in that dream, you had the perfect studio session. And the perfect studio session included one artist, one producer to go along with yourself, one engineer, and one random person. Who are those 4 people going to be with you in the studio?
Ooh, that's hard. That's hard. I think the engineer would have to be Dave Pensado. I would have to say.
Nice.
I just love Dave's sort of he's an older generation of music engineers and producers. Mm-hmm. But I love how he stays current and it doesn't matter. He's almost like ageless in that sense. He's current with what's going on with music, with technology, and with the show that they have and all that. I just love his young outlook on everything, and I think it would be cool to have him in the studio, and it would be great. I already mentioned these people. I would love to work with Ryan Tedder. It would have been an amazing experience, I'm sure. Obviously, Max Martin as well, but I know we've mentioned him enough today. But yeah, Ryan Tedder. As far as artists, I would love to work with Weeknd.
Nice.
That would be amazing. I love what he's doing and his talent and the voice and everything. So that would be amazing.
Wow.
As far as one random person, it's kind of hard. I'm not even sure who that would be.
Everyone struggles with this one.
Yeah, one random person. I don't even. Oh, it's so hard. Can't even. Don't really know, honestly. Could it be my mom? I don't know.
Yeah, it could be your mom. It could even be Max Martin, since you mentioned him. Could be anyone.
Yeah. It's just it's hard. Don't really know.
Okay.
It could be really, yeah.
Well, man, that does sound like a dream, man. And hopefully it could be a dream come true for you one of these days, man. Dave Pensado in there mixing a song that you created with Ryan Tedder in The Weeknd, and I'm sure Tedder would probably be writing the song as well as helping to produce. So that'd be great.
Yes,
and
sure.
Then,
Yep.
And then alongside, sitting there somewhere, your mom is in there. So that would make it just perfect, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that's awesome, man. Hopefully it can happen one of these days.
Yes.
Okay, man. All right. Well, what's one of your favorite songs that you ever produced?
So definitely a couple comes to mind. If that's okay to answer like that.
That is fine.
One of my production partners, Derek Tercios, and we worked on a lot of house music together, and released some stuff in Europe and New York, other parts of US, So one of the songs that we did, it was a remix of one of the songs by this house music diva, Ultra Nate. And her the song was called Party Girl. So, and what we did when we did the remix, we called it Blue Note Mix, because it was a house record with some vocals, obviously because it was a remix of a vocal track. And then, so it was a 4 on the floor record, and then in the middle of the record, the song goes from 4 on the floor to a jazz trio. And Derek, being a great piano player, just does a jazz solo on the piano.
Wow.
So it was a full-blown house, borderline tech house track that goes into jazz trio, and you don't even know what happens, and then it comes right back out of it and back to 4 on the floor. And just the way, the seamlessness of it, it's just one of my favorite parts. And we call it Note Mix because it was that has influence in it, but is just I know a lot of DJs, so some DJs played it in some big clubs, and I heard it, and it was like, oh my. And then we had an upright bass, so it basically 4 on the floor switches, jazz trio with the jazz drums and upright bass and a solo. And it's one of my favorites. We got some traction from that, and we have it. It's on Beatport. I don't know if any of you guys ever visit Beatport to search, buy, or just do some records. Yeah, Beatport.com.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually that's another answer for one of your earlier questions as far as like online
resources.
Yeah. So this is so a lot of DJs from around the world go to beatport.com and they get their records from there to perform.
Wow.
So it's like iTunes for DJs basically.
Dope.
So and you don't even have to be a DJ to obviously buy records. Anybody can do it. But I'm just saying DJs just go and do research and find records on there. So I have quite a few things released on there. So that's one record, and I have another record that I released, which is complete sort of other side of the spectrum. It's a pop record. I think it's one of my favorite pop records that I made. It's called California Air. It's by one of my artists, Trini Savah, that you mentioned in the beginning. So I've been working with her for a while, and the video is out, and the record is out. So it's just, to me, it's just a. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, just as a record, just if I disconnect from it and listen to it like as just an observer, as just a listener, then it's just a perfect pop song. Just period. Radio, Big Hook. Chase J from Atlanta wrote the song, and it's just great pop record.
Nice.
Period. So
nice.
We're hoping it's gonna go far. We'll see.
Well, man, I heard the first record. I heard the second one with Trini Savah, and it sounded awesome to me, man. I thought it was a great record. Job well done on your end. I haven't seen the video. I will do that when I get off of here. I'll take a look at the video, but I did hear it on SoundCloud, and great job, Beat Grinders. You guys should go on Lectriq SoundCloud and definitely check it out. So and also man, thank you. I mean, you did the work. Thank you, man. Also, the first record I saw on SoundCloud as well, but I didn't listen to it. But I am gonna listen to it now. Now that I know the story behind it, and yeah, so I'll check that out, man.
Awesome, great. I hope you like it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I will, man. So, okay, all right, man. Well, what's an album besides one that you worked on that you think every producer should listen to, and why?
Again, very, very hard question. I want to say, just only because there's so much music and there's so much out there that's just crazy. And one of my influential albums that I like to refer to is by Sting, called Brand New Day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a great pop album, but with great songwriting, great singing, and melodies and everything is just amazing. Also, I love Britney's record Blackout. It's just so good, so edgy, and so just to me like perfect pop music right there. So love that one. Also, I love this one album by one of my early influences. Also, there's this project from Europe called Enigma. I don't know if you heard of it. It's the producer's name is Michael Cretu. So he's they had that Gregorian chant thing in the beginning of the 90s. Their first album had that, but they have an album called Voyageur. Voyage, yes, but it's kind of French. That name is French, but so that's a great piece of music. Very it's pop, but not kind of in your face pop, and it's still also songs, and I love the sound they use, and it's just amazing. So there's a few. I know I don't want to get too far out of the realm or scope of the question.
No, you're fine, man. I'll definitely check those three out. What was the first one you said by Sting? It was called what?
Brand New Day.
Brand New Day. Okay. Awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna check all of those out, and Beat Grinders, if you guys want to check them out as well, I'll provide an iTunes link for all of those songs. So yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. For some reason, I think I'll have fun listening to Enigma. I've heard Britney before, Sting I've heard before, but I've never heard Enigma.
Yeah, Enigma. He's huge over in Europe obviously, and everywhere else. But he had a couple hits here as well. Like you once you hear them, you'll be like, oh, okay, I know now.
Right.
Like I will hear it.
Okay. All right, man. Well, we're gonna stay in this imaginative mode, man. I want you to imagine that you just woke up and you lost everything that you had except for your knowledge and $1,000. So that includes all your friends, all your musical friends, your contacts, all of your equipment, everything. What would you do in the next week to restart your career?
So you said I woke up, I don't have anything but $1,000, and I don't have any contacts or anything?
Right, yeah. You pretty much woke up in another country, another world identical to Earth. All you have are pretty much your clothes, and the desire to restart your music career. What would you do?
Ooh, if I don't have any contacts, that's a little tougher. But well, if I wanna, so I would need some basic tools to do some stuff, and I mean really basic. I would really get if it's $1,000, I would. Of course, I could technically. There's a couple ways I can go about this. I can get like a ticket, like a big ticket, and fly somewhere where I want to get into some situations, or I can get like some basic equipment and just jumping into making some stuff and sending stuff out for people or collaborating. I would get like a Mac Mini, maybe Apogee One, like an interface with a microphone that I can record, maybe a pair of inexpensive speakers, don't need anything fancy, and you can just fire up GarageBand and off you go. You're ready. You're rocking.
Nice.
So you don't need much, you know.
Right. That's awesome, man. I like both those answers that you gave. The first one, get a plane ticket, fly to a city or somewhere where the music scene is pretty big. Just immerse yourself and figure it out from there. Or, like you say, get a Mac Mini, get all the other the Apogee and everything else that goes with it, and start from there. The reason why I asked this question is just to get an insight, to get from experts like yourself, just to know what would you guys do, because there's a lot of producers that are just starting out. They have the money, but they don't know what to do in order to get started. Or there's people that have lost everything and they want to get started with little money. So thank you for both of those answers, man. Those were great. Those were definitely great.
Awesome.
All right, man. Well, I want to know what does legacy mean to you? When it's all said and done, when your music career is over, what do you want your legacy to be?
I thought about this before. Yeah, I wanna have an honor, which is impossible to know ahead of time, actually. So
Right.
it will only be retrospectively looking back. But I wanna be able to look back at what I've done and see that I was part of something important and influential. Like I said, it's impossible to set it up ahead of time. It's impossible to say, okay, today I'm gonna work on an important, influential album or a song. There's
Right.
no way to do that.
Right.
But hopefully, by the time it's all said and done, I would be able to look back and or people would be able to come up to me and say, hey, that album or that song or that record or that single, whatever, it was influential, important, and it was like a milestone in the music, in music, period. You know.
Right.
So, but I hope I'm good enough to eventually be part of something like that. And like I said, I will only find out retrospectively that if that even happened. But hopefully that will come. So to me, that's what sort of legacy. Like I hope to be a part of the next Thriller, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But there is no way to know. There is no way to know if you're ready or not, or to prepare yourself. You just have to just do the work and keep doing it. But hopefully, when the career is over, hopefully that would be part of my career, that I've been part of something like that. So
that's awesome.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does make sense, man. That's a great answer, man. Thank you for that. It just seems like you said, all you can do is put your head down, keep working, and just just know that what you attack everything like you're gonna make the next Thriller. Whether it's you're working with the next Michael Jackson or not.
Right.
You gotta just attack everything like it is the next Thriller. So that's awesome, man. Okay. All right, man. Well, what's the greatest piece of advice that you've ever received in your career, and what advice would you have for all the producers listening today?
So one of the great pieces of advice I got was pretty early on. I was told that if I'm a nice guy, I can go far. So to elaborate on that, and I thought about it, I'm like, well, I can. Okay, I mean, I guess I can be a nice guy, but what does that mean? So,
right.
And now years later, right? Years later, looking back and sort of remembering that piece of advice, realizing that the most important things, especially in our industry, in the music industry, in the creative industry, is relationships with people.
Yep.
It's not the equipment. It's not how talented you are. It's the relationships with people that you can sustain, and those relationships will sustain you going forward and keeping you doing what you're doing. So basically, I translated what that meant. Years later, what that meant being a nice guy. Now, you can't be fake nice. You still it has to be real. But at the same time, if you're nice to people, treat people how you want to be treated, it will carry you through. And like a lot of people ask me, like, how do I get my business, and how where do I advertise and things like that. And I'm like, honestly, it's all word of mouth. It's really majority of it. And people come to me because somebody refers them to me, or they just heard of me or whatever. But in general, it's just through relationships,
Right.
So and that's, to me, I think that's important. Now, granted, this is like a one of those 40,000 foot view kind of advice where it's not very detailed. It's gonna mean different things for everybody, but in general, that's what helped me, and I think that's kind of it's very cool.
That's awesome, man. That's great advice.
So I don't know if that's that's it. Yeah, that's advice I've been given. Of course, I can pass it along and say, hey, that could you guys can use this advice as well. I'm not a genius like that. I didn't come up with it. So, but that's something to be mindful. And I'll just passing along. I'm just a messenger. So, do with it what you wish. In terms of like my own advice, like to people, up and coming producers and whatnot. I mean, I think it's important to be an intern. To spend some time being an intern. Doesn't matter how good you are, how talented, how lucky. Doesn't matter. None of that matters. You do need to spend time to working under somebody who is doing it for real, who is doing it professionally, and that you can learn from. But specifically under somebody that will make you feel uncomfortable for the purposes of growing and getting better. So because we can get complacent and we can get our head could grow and our ego could flourish and be like, I'm the greatest, I don't need any advice, I don't need any help, I'm fine,
Right.
But I think it's important because I meet a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but I meet people where I know they haven't been under somebody, like they haven't been slapped around enough. They haven't received sort of training and boot camp of going through that, and that's kind of a lot of times it doesn't. It's detrimental not to have that.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it's very intangible. It's kind of hard to put your finger on it what that really is, but it's really it's important. It's very helpful to do that, and can give you a lot of positive tools in your toolbox, so to speak. So I mention a couple other things if I have time.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah, go for it.
A lot of people get hung up on equipment, and they think being a great producer is they put too much weight on like the equipment and what you use in the studio. And I just want to say that it's not as important as what you can bring, your talent, your work ethic, how you work, your relationships.
Right.
What you use in the studio, plugins, the outboard gear, all that, it matters way less than a lot of people think. So that's one of my, and trust me, I didn't know that right away. It took years to sort of come to that, and it's like,
well,
it's really about music, and it's really about you. So
yeah, like you were saying earlier, all the DAWs are just a shell. What matters is who's using it. I mean, they're all pretty much the same. Same with the hardware, same with all the equipment. You can get a $5,000 guitar and a $200 guitar, and it just depends on who's using. I mean, of course, the $5,000 one is better, but if you have someone that's barely picked up a guitar playing the $5,000 one, and then you get an expert playing the $200 one, which one's going to sound better? It just all depends on your skill level and how much time you put into it.
Speaking of guitar, actually, one other thing I wanted to mention for producers, whether starting out or not necessarily, if you don't already, learn to play an instrument. I know it sounds vague and kind of hard as well if somebody's never played an instrument, and it is sort of hard, sort of vague, super helpful. Almost every producer that I've met in my career that are good, that have been doing it for a while, almost all of them do play an instrument, something, and they used to be in a band, they used to be in a drum line, they play an instrument. So, and I do meet producers who don't play an instrument, though, hot tracks and whatnot, but without playing an instrument, it's definitely you're at a disadvantage. And it doesn't even need to be super high level, super instrumentalist, concert pianist or anything like that. It doesn't have to be like that, but it has to be understanding of an instrument and how and the relationships, musical relationships that instrument can help you sort of bring to the surface. Wow. That makes sense.
Nice. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, man. I mean, if you don't play an instrument, you're only limited. you can only do so much. So I forgot, one of our past guests was saying, yeah, you can make hot tracks, hot beats, but when you get in the studio, like, how are you going to direct how are you going to direct another musician to maybe play some of your stuff if you need the piano played over your music? How are you going to tell them what needs to be played, or what key singer should be in, or so that's all very important in the studio. And if you don't play an instrument, it's kind of hard to get that point across.
Exactly. When I went to school, and mind you, I went to school for not even for production. I went to school for sound engineering. Mm-hmm. But still, my department, sound engineering department, was part of music department, and part of the curriculum was study ear training for engineers, and then study all the musical stuff, the harmony, the form, and all of that.
Wow.
And of course, a lot of people, well, why do we need this? I just want to be in the studio, and and then the idea behind it was that if you're going to be working in the studio, you need to be able to speak the same language that the musicians speak. That makes sense. So so that's why I've learned early on that needs to happen. So knowing musical mechanics of music and playing a musical instrument to some degree it's so helpful. It's just it's important.
That's awesome, man. Well, that was definitely a fully loaded answer. I didn't expect all of that, man, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I got a lot of information off of your advice, man. I got some things that I can take with me and use as I move forward and try to maneuver my way into the music business, man. The first thing is just be nice to people, and definitely try to gain relationships with people, but actually be genuine and doing that and being nice with people, and and also it's not about your music, not about your equipment, but it's also about what who's playing the equipment and learning an instrument, for sure, man. I'm learning the piano. It's tough, but trying to get through it because of guys like you and others that have come on here and said, hey, if you don't play an instrument, you can only make it so far. So thank you for that answer, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's totally. Yep.
Okay, man. Well, if you have any more words for the listeners, man, if you want to let them know what they should be looking out for, things that you may be working on that we can listen to in the future, or how to contact you, man, that would be great.
I'm working on a few things. The new, I haven't released any information yet as far as what it's gonna be, but it's some exciting things. But I will be posting it on my website. You can check out my website. It's Lectriq.com. It's basically my producer name, which is Lectriq. Lectriq.com. I post generally my recent stuff on there and some info, some pictures. Of course, my SoundCloud, same thing, soundcloud.com/Lectriq. I post some current, more current bits and pieces I put on my Instagram. Same thing, Lectriq, at Lectriq. So you can check that out. I have some videos from some recent sessions and whatnot that we've had. But as always, there's something cooking, something in the works, which will be out soon. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, that's what's up, man. Well, Beat Grinders, you guys definitely go check this man out. Lectriq is doing his thing, putting out some great music. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beats Grinding Life. If you guys find this show valuable, which I'm pretty sure you will, because Lectriq has dropped some gems for us, please share it on Instagram, Insta Stories, all that good stuff, and tag me and Lectriq in it as well, so we can see. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast on iTunes, and put a like on it on SoundCloud if you're listening to it on there. You guys, once again, I've been mentored by another great producer. You've been mentored by Lectriq, so consider yourselves lucky, and continue making beats. Stay on your grind and love life. Peace, y'all. Thank you, Lectriq. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate being here, and it was great. It was great being on here. Great talking to you. You know, this has been amazing.
Thank you, man. Thank you. All right, y'all. Peace out.
Stop fucking hitting those drums. Stop banging those drums like you bang your fucking sister. Clear?
Here at Beats Grinding Life, we want to thank you for listening to another episode. We want to know, what were your biggest takeaways from this interview? Just go to beatsgrindinglife.com and leave a comment on this episode's show notes page. Also, while you are there, go subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Just click the little button that says subscribe. If you could, please leave a rating and review. Rating and reviews are the best way to show your appreciation because it helps more people find out about the podcast. So until next week's episode, keep grinding.